What if you could do more than just live longer? What if you could transfer your entire consciousness, everything that makes you, you, into a brand new universe? Well, today we are diving deep into something called the quantum consciousness transfer system. It's a wild concept that sits right at the intersection of hard science, incredible fiction, and, well, maybe a new kind of mythology for the digital age.
So where do we even start with something this big? You'd think with a scientific paper, right? Nope. Our journey actually begins with a very, very strange disclaimer on a website called bbbb.com. And trust me, it sets a particular tone right from the get-go. So on this site, there's something called the Sovereign Diagnostic Disclaimer. And it says all the material is, and I'm quoting here, mythic infrastructure, cinematic indictment, and sovereign broadcast. You know, that doesn't really sound like a tech company or a research lab. It sounds more like a manifesto. Which, of course, leads to the big question. What on earth does that actually mean? The language feels deliberately cryptic, almost like it's designed to make you stop and question what you're even looking at.
So you dig a little deeper, and the disclaimer gets even more specific. It says, hey, we're not tied to any government, any political party. It claims its real purpose is to expose what it calls ritualized containment, which seems to be their term for the societal systems that hold us back. And it frames itself not as some political movement, but as a set of diagnostic tools for seeing reality more clearly. It's positioning itself as something totally outside the norm.
Okay, so what is this sovereign broadcast actually about? Once you get past all the mythic language, you find it incredibly bold, and I mean incredibly bold, technological promise at its core. And here it is, the Quantum Consciousness Transfer System, or QCTS for short. The whole idea is that this system is designed to achieve immortality. But, and this is a huge but, we're not talking about biological immortality. We're talking about dimensional continuity. It's the idea that your consciousness itself can just keep going by moving from our reality into another one. Let's put that even more simply. The stated goal of the QCTS is to take your consciousness and physically transfer it into a brand new multiverse. It's basically a blueprint for a kind of technological afterlife, a way to keep existing after this universe is done with you. This is the system's motto, its central philosophy. And what's fascinating is that this line shows up everywhere, on the artsy website and in the formal paper. Agency preserves coherence. Resonance projects sovereignty. In plain English, it seems to be saying that your free will is what keeps your mind whole, and your ability to connect with the system is what gives you the power to actually cross dimensions. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting, because this isn't just a weird website with some cool concepts. There's a formal academic paper, published on the research platform Zenodo, that claims to lay out the actual technical blueprint for how this system would work. According to this paper, written by Dr. Melvin Sewell, the whole thing is built on 3 core pieces of technology, something called the SH1 substrate, an encoding chamber, and a dimensional gateway. So let's pop the hood and see how each part is supposed to function.
First up is the SH1 substrate. The best way to think about this is like the canvas, or maybe the film in a camera. It's described as a stabilizing field that acts as the fundamental medium for the entire process. Everything else happens on or within this substrate.
Okay, so you have your canvas. Next, you need to capture the image. That's the encoding chamber. Its job is to take an individual's consciousness and stabilize it within that substrate. The keywords here are coherence and fidelity, meaning it has to be a perfect, lossless copy of you. And then, the final piece of the puzzle, the dimensional gateway. This is the engine. This is what makes it all happen. It's supposed to activate a resonance with the substrate, and that's what enables the consciousness to actually make the jump, what the paper calls a sovereign traversal into a new dimension.
So we have the pieces of the machine, but the paper doesn't just stop there. It then connects this very personal act of one person transferring their consciousness to a gigantic universe-creating cosmic event.
So how does it make that connection? It uses a really advanced branch of math called category theory. Now, you definitely don't need to be a mathematician to get the gist. The key idea is that category theory is all about studying relationships between different systems. And the paper uses it to argue that the relationship between the machine's parts is a perfect mirror of the relationship between the cosmic events that create brand new universes.
And this is basically the map. You see, on one side you have the personal components that an individual would use, the encoding chamber and the dimensional gateway. These are designed to perfectly mimic something much bigger, a rift event, which the paper calls the original cosmic blueprint for creation. And if you can successfully mimic that event, you gain access to the emergent multiverse, which is the final destination.
So this rift event is really the key to the whole theory. It's described as this massive, primordial cosmic event that first seeded our universe with intelligent life. The paper is basically arguing that the QCTS is a personal, targeted way to replicate that original moment of creation.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. We've got this strange, artistic website, and on the other hand, we have this dense, highly mathematical academic paper. Why present one idea in two totally different ways? It's time to bring it all together.
Well, this dual approach seems to be the whole point. The sovereign broadcast on the website is the public-facing version. It's the myth, the story, the cinematic pitch. The academic paper, though, is the formal, technical framework for the exact same system. These aren't two different projects. They're a two-pronged attack to introduce a single, unified idea to the world.
And who's the person behind both? One individual, Dr. Melvin Sewell. In the academic paper, he's listed as a dean and a researcher. But on the website, he's the diagnostic architect and the CEO of the Beep studio. He is the single bridge between these two worlds.
And that brings us right back to this phrase, the core philosophy that shows up in both the myth and the machine. This is the central thread that ties the artistic vision and the technical blueprint together. The idea that our own consciousness, our own agency, has the power to literally navigate reality itself.
So when all is said and done, what do we make of the quantum consciousness transfer system? Is it a serious proposal for a new type of physics? Is it an incredibly elaborate multi-platform work of speculative art? Or could it be a genuine blueprint for a kind of human future that we just can't wrap our heads around yet? The answer, it seems, is left for us to figure out.